The late Tito Mboweni will be laid to rest today in a Category 2 special official funeral at the Nkowankowa Stadium in his hometown of Tzaneen in Limpopo. The former Reserve Bank governor and finance minister passed away last weekend at the age of 65. My colleague Iman Rappetti is at the church in Johannesburg and Nkowankowa is at Mboweni's family home in Sasekani village. All right, Iman Rappetti joins us now from Our Lady of Mount Carmel Catholic Church, where the Requiem Mass will be held this morning. Good morning, Iman. If you can just set the scene for us and what we can expect from today's proceedings.
Masachaba, good morning. The church just to my left is filling up with friends, family and loved ones. It's quite a small church, Our Lady of Mount Carmel Catholic Church, for this Requiem Mass. I believe it can only take about 60 people or 70 people. We'll find out a little bit more about the history of the church in just a moment. But I'm sure that you'd love this, as well as many South Africans, Masachaba, who enjoy understanding our history and our culture, that there's so much wrapped up and intertwined between that story and the life and times of Tito Mboweni. I didn't know this, but the Kloof Heinertsburg is actually at the very northeastern tip of the Drakensberg mountain range, which ends here in the Limpopo province. And it's apparently also fondly called the land of the silver mist, because the mountains and the valleys of the area are regularly shrouded in mist. And I can attest to that. It was a beautiful, quiet, picturesque journey through the hills and the dales that delivered us here to this mountaintop, this village right on the top of Heinertsburg, where this funeral service will be held. There's also a special geological fact around the forests around here as well, that the mists have built up this barrier to fires in the area. So it's lush and green. And I think it creates a really wonderful and fitting send-off for the governor. There's also another piece of history that's quite interesting, the name of Kloof itself. By the way, it's named after King Mampoku Makgoba, and he presided over a small community. And they mounted a rebellion in the 1800s. And he was then eventually assassinated and killed in 1894. And apparently the story goes that his family still to this day is searching for the remains, for his remains to be reunited with the family for a proper burial. All right. That's just some of the history. But I want to also just share with you, family and friends who are gathering here, we are expecting this service to get underway at around, well, it was supposed to start at around 6 o'clock, running perhaps just a little bit behind. And I'm sure that many people will be standing outside the church because it can't take everyone inside. But the journey has been quite a send-off as well, Masachaba. We know he passed away in a Johannesburg hospital, traveling those 400 kilometers or so to his ancestral home, effectively. This is Sasekani village, where we'll join Nkowankowa in just a moment. But we're here for this private family ceremony. Then the body will travel to the stadium, which is almost 60 kilometers away. This is the Nkowankowa Stadium, for that official Category 2 funeral. And then his remains will finally make its journey to the family burial ground in Bordeaux, Ebodwini, where he was born and where he grew up. And I believe that he will be laid to rest alongside his parents and his other siblings. So it's been quite an epic journey up until this point and this moment today. I want to bring in Deneys Barry, who is a friend of Tito Mboweni's, who's here for the funeral service and will share just a few anecdotes about his life. Deneys, good morning. Thank you for talking to us. You were so lovingly setting up the chairs this morning in the church, and I can imagine that you have somewhat of a heavy heart this morning. Please share with us what you're feeling.
Somewhat, yes. The governor was a member of our club for some years, until he was called to the cabinet, and we miss him, and we will miss him.
What are some of the things, when you think about anecdotes and his personality and his character, that really resonate and stand out for you?
Well, sense of humor, yes, although one didn't always get it, but he had a great sense of humor. He was very oblique in expressing his opinions and telling his jokes. But he was a terrific chap to have, and he urged our club to transform in the early years, and so it did, and he's doing, and we'll never forget him.
Deneys, we talked this week, with our reporters and journalists in the area about the impact that he made on local business. He was somebody that really got involved, didn't he?
He did, but he was a very social person. I knew him socially. I didn't know him in business at all.
Thank you so much, Deneys, for talking to us. And Deneys belongs to the Heinetzberg Rotary Club, as you heard there. Somebody who, and I think it was an interesting way to put it, who was oblique. We heard a lot of testimonials about Tito Mboweni, his personality and his character in getting things done and calling a thing, as we like to say. We're going to leave it there for now. His body has been kept at the church overnight, and that funeral service, as I mentioned earlier, about to get underway imminently, we understand. And I'm going to take it from here to Sesekeni village, where we find our Zianda Ngobo, and this is the family home.
Thank you very much, Iman, indeed. And where we are right now, of course, it's a completely different picture to what we saw late last night when the community and the family received the remains of Tito Mboweni to have their final goodbyes, in particular this community of Sasekani, where Mboweni's parents lived and where he also spent a large portion of his time in between this village and Sasekani. Of course, most of the family members are headed to where you are, Iman, for that requiem mass and then bound for the stadium. But as I speak to you, there are two buses behind me that are bound to leave at 9 a.m. for the Nkowankowa Stadium. This is just to assist some community members who would also want to be part of that special official funeral category 2. But I want to bring in a neighbor, Charles Homo, and true to Tito Mboweni's commitment to job creation, Charles Homo's younger brother, Mos Homo, actually works at Mboweni's Makgoba's Cloth Home. But Charles, let's talk about how you knew Tito Mboweni, especially here in this village.
As a neighbor, I knew him when they come from Boudouis to come and stay here at Sasekan. We related, to tell you the honest. Tito is my brother, by the way. Yes.
And you were just talking off air about how you, especially in the run-up to the election, you are also working very closely with Tito Mboweni?
Yeah, as a branch here, Ward 24, when the election times comes, he used to be with us canvassing around the village. He's a good comrade. He's a hard worker. I was always with the branch of ANC here at the community. Yes, ma'am.
What are you going to miss the most about Tito Mboweni?
I'm deeply going to miss him because he's gone now. Well, we will never have another comrade who will help us during election time.
And you were also talking earlier on about your brother who also works for him.
Yes, Moses is my brother, and yes, he's sound. As you can see, Moses is my brother who worked for Tito Mboweni. Yes, ma'am.
All right. That's Charles Homo, and I must say we did also get to meet Charles's brother Mos, caretaker at Tito Mboweni's Makgoba's Cloth Home. So really also empowering, the community from which he comes from by actually, giving him a job. And this is part of what we've been hearing over the last couple of days, in particular yesterday when we spent time with the community that was ready to receive his remains. A befitting send-off given to Tito Mboweni by this community, praise and song around his coffin before it departed the Sasekane village for the Hartnesburg Catholic Church, where he stayed overnight. And, the community got to say their final goodbyes to a man who they knew to walk these streets freely, never making a fuss about the giant and towering figure that he truly was. And we understand that from 9 a.m., as I've mentioned, the two buses behind us will then leave for the Nkowankowa Stadium, where scores of South Africans and dignitaries from across, all walks of life will be coming to say goodbye to the first Black Reserve Bank governor.
Zianda, could you paint a picture for us of the mood on the ground yesterday when the community was receiving the body of the late Tito Mboweni?
Well, it was mixed, Ms. Chaba, as one can expect in a moment such as this one, when you think about how sudden Tito Mboweni's passing was. And this is something that even the family shared with us, that his illness really was short and they didn't quite prepare themselves that he would actually pass away. And this is the same sentiment that was expressed by the community. I mean, just in the afternoon, we'd spoken to his niece Ntlamulo, who had been, assisting so greatly with details and us getting an understanding of the type of family man that he was. But as soon as, that hearse pulled up and his coffin pulled out, she totally broke down with family members. And you can imagine, because it's bringing finality to what the family is currently been going through in terms of process. And she really was expressing just how the family, they're close-knit family, they're small, and that her father, and Tlamulo's father, is the only sibling that remains out of the four. As you've heard, Iman, he'll be buried alongside his siblings and his parents in the Bodweni a village not far from where we are. It's around 10 kilometers away from where we are. And so this is the kind of feeling. But by the time then, he was ushered out of the Sasekane village, the streets were lined up with people with their cell phones, singing, waving. And you could get a sense that this is a community that loved Tito Mboweni, that knew Tito Mboweni very well, and that will miss Tito Mboweni for the person that he was to them every time he came to this Sasekane village.